Hey guys, all right, part two. This is easy stuff, fun stuff, man. How can you complain? 10 minutes a day, listening to me for 10 minutes a day instead of listening to me for longer time. I might start doing something like this instead of talking about the whole chapter. This might be something I start doing in the future. So I kind of like this 15-minute a day talk, and we move on and get our hands on stuff going on. So um, might work out better. Actually, I think I'd have to do about 20 minutes a day. That'd give us our hour and a half. So 20-minute talk, and we'll be done. All right. So we talked about the motors before. So now we're talking about three phase motors, and the rotor most commonly used in a three-phase motor. So the rotor most commonly used in a three-phase motor is the squirrel cage rotor. Squirrel cage rotor is the most common, most popular rotor used. Squirrel cage rotor. Okay, they have different types of rotors, but squirrel cage rotor. And most generally, it's when you're buying stuff, you buy based on, you guys aren't going to have to go through the field and worry about where you're going to get the motor, what kind of motor you got to get. Most generally, you'll match up the motor, replace it, or your foreman or whoever will order the motor that you're going to need for whatever it is you're doing. All right, you'll get torques and specs and recommendations. You know this is just kind of giving you an idea about motors. Number eight, what is the starting torque characteristics of a wound rotor motor? Wound rotor motor are defined by what? The torque characteristics for a wound motor rotor. A wound motor rotor has rotor resistance. There's resistance when it goes to start. If there's not resistance when it goes to start, then it's not gonna work properly. But once it gets going, the faster it goes, the less resistance there is. A three-phase synchronous motor is started with what? What is a three-phase synchronous motor started with? A three-phase synchronous motor is started with, a synchronous motor has three windings. It has two regular windings, and then it has a what's called an armature winding. And the armature winding is what starts the motor and gets it going. So a three-phase motor has four windings. It has the three regular windings, and it has an armature winding that gets it going. So the armature winding is what starts a three-phase synchronous motor. It synchronizes and gets it going. The speed of an induction motor depends on the power supply frequency and the what? The speed of an induction motor depends on the power supply frequency and the what? So the speed of the motor depends on the poles, right? Divide the poles into that formula. If you got two poles, it's going to be X amount of speed. The more poles you have, the slower the motor is going to be, but the more torquing, the more power it's going to have. So um, the poles are number of poles will depend on the speed and the power supply to the motor. Number 11, the speed of a multiple winding motor is normally changed by what? Multiple winding motor is the speed of it is normally changed by what? What is the speed of a normally multiple winding motor changed by? So how do you change speed in the motor? Inside the motor, there's contacts, there's switching contacts. We can change it to switch and change the speed of the motor. So it's just contacts that maybe switch from two poles to four poles, or I'm not sure exactly how that all works. I just know it's switching contacts in the motor electronically. You'll never have to play with that. You can look into it further um, and determine, or we can talk about it when you guys get back if you remember it, how why switching contacts make it go faster or slower, and why. A consequent pole motor has how many speeds? Consequent pole motor has how many speeds? It has two speeds. Consequent pole motor has two speeds. The braking method in which DC. Oh, sorry, that was it. My bad. Okay, so Questions are this. In a three-phase motor, the rotor most commonly used, what did I say was the most common used motor and rotor? Wound rotor, B, squirrel cage rotor, C, synchronous rotor, D, torque rotor. Which one was the most common? 8. The starting torque characteristics of a wound rotor motor are defined by what? Starting torque characteristics are defined by what? Of a wound rotor motor. The rotor resistance, the starting current, the load, or the stator resistance. Which one makes a difference? Number 9, a three-phase synchronous motor is started by what? A, squirrel cage bar, B, movable actuator disc, C, centrifugal weight assembly, D, armature winding. 10, the speed of an induction motor depends on the power supply frequency and the what? The speed of the motor. What changes the speed of that motor? The current, the voltage, the size, or the number of poles. And the number of the poles is the north and south magnetic poles. You either have a north and a south pole, and if you have a north and a south, a north and a south, now you'd have 4 poles inside that motor. Okay. The speed of a multiple winding motor is normally changed by what? A, switching contacts in the motor controller, B, reversing any 2 of the incoming leads, C, an external Y connecting resistor, D, timing relays. And number 12, a consequent pole motor has how many speeds? Consequent pole motor. A, 1 speed, B, 2 speeds, C, 3 speeds, D, 4 speeds. Alright guys, so that covers the first 2. That will be part 2 of motors. So the first one will be part 1, the second one will be part 2. I talked to the first year a little bit about coming back. As of right now, the superintendent says our return date will be the 13th of April. I'm not sure. The president's talking about having a couple more weeks of social distancing until April 30th, which if he does, I'm assuming that, and I'll have to wait until I hear to give you more information, I'm assuming that we might not return until the end of the month. But as of right now, it's the 13th. You guys just try to stay healthy. Let's just get past this without any, it's been ugly. So you just gotta try to get past this, and everybody stays safe and get back to class and get back to some kind of normalcy in life. And you guys that are going off to lineman school are going to be in good shape, and you guys that are going off to union are going to be in good shape, and you guys that are going off to other trade schools are going to be in good shape. So if you're sick when it's time to come back to school, if you got the flu or something, I would recommend maybe, if it's just getting over with and you're on an antibiotic, that's different. But if you're still really sick, hopefully nobody will be sick and everybody will be back healthy. We just want to get past this. Once we get into mid to late May, I'm sure this will all be over and done with, and we won't have to worry about it, which is a month and a half away. Because we're up on April right now. So. All right, guys, have a good week, and I will. There's 2 videos on here now, so do those, and tomorrow I will put on another one. All right, I'll put on one tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, and that'll be it. And then won't be any again until Sunday if I remember to put it on Sunday. So. And then I'll be calling everybody on Thursday, Friday. I'm gonna try to touch base with you guys, see how you guys are doing. Make sure you're staying out of trouble and all that good stuff. All right, talk to you later.